Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatma, and in this video I'm going to explain about research in language teaching. First, I'm going to tell what is research. According to Nunan, research is a form of inquiry that involves question and answer. It can be defined that research is a process of systematic inquiry that entails collection of data, documentation of critical information, and analysis and interpretation of that data or information in accordance with suitable methodologies set by specific professional fields and academic disciplines. There are three types of research. The first one is quantitative research. In quantitative research, we use number, statistic, and frequency comparison statistics. All quantitative research approaches summarize results numerically. This research draws on a principle of scientific realism. There is a single reality that can be described by numbers. The second one is qualitative research. In this research, we use word, meaning, and deals with conversation analysis. It also used to gain an understanding of reasons and opinion. And the last one is mixed method. It's combined quantitative and qualitative methods systematically. Let's talk about quantitative research. For beginning researchers, there are many important concepts to understand related to quantitative research. First, we have to know what is variable. A variable is a characteristic or attribute that varies. It refers to a person, place, thing, or phenomenon that you are trying to measure in some way. Quantitative research studies variable with a particular group of participants and use it to draw the conclusion. To accomplish this, the researchers must select their participant in the systematic way. The next one is sample. A sample is a smaller fraction of the population, the group to which the researcher would ultimately like to generalize or apply the results of the study. A sample is selected from a larger population through random selection. Random selection is a procedure in which each and every member of a population has an equal and independent chance of being selected for a sample. Random selection is used so that the sample can be representative of the population from which the sample is taken. There are two types of quantitative research. The first one is experimental research. This research designed to determine cause-effect relationship. And in this research, we study the effect or the impact of an approach under stringent and controlled conditions to make statement of causality. The example of experimental research is a study about evaluation of teaching method. In this research, we will evaluate the teaching method of two teachers to determine which is the best. By evaluating the effectiveness of each teacher's teaching method, we may conclude after the post-test has been carried out. And here are the types of experimental research. The first one is quasi-experimental research. This is a form of experimental research in which the researcher doesn't have to control over assignment of individuals to condition, but can randomly assign whole groups to different treatments. Typically, groups are persisted prior to the treatment to be sure they don't differ on the dependent variable. For example, studying about mathematics achievement in two classrooms with two different teachers from the same school. This research determining if the use of graphing calculator affects student understanding of slope of lines. Neither class has previously used graphing calculators. The results of this assessment indicate that the average scores of the two classes on this pretest are similar. At the end of 1 week, students are tested again to determine if the use of the graphing calculators produce better understanding than learning with no calculators. And another types of experimental research is single subject research. It's a special type of experimental research. This examines treatment effects on individuals or a small group of individuals. In this type of research, a treatment or an intervention is manipulated. The critical part of single-subject research involves the researcher collecting several sets of data prior to the implementation of the treatment. This is called a baseline pass because data are collected at multiple points throughout a period of time. The next one is non-experimental research. Non-experimental research use numbers to describe pre-existing groups or to determine whether a relationship exists between variables. There are some types of non-experimental research. The first one is descriptive research. The aim is to describe behaviors and to gather people's perceptions, opinions, attitudes, and beliefs about current issues in education. These descriptions are then summarized by reporting the number or percentage of persons reporting each response. The survey is the primary method used to gather such data or information from people. And here the types of descriptive research. The first one is one-shot survey design. This approach is pretty much sounds like surveys are mailed to participants at one point in time to gather their perception about the current issues. The purpose of this study to determine current perception of behaviors of one group at one point in time. The next one is longitudinal survey study. In this study, a sample is selected and the entire sample is sampled periodically. The main function of the longitudinal study is to track participants over an extended period of time. The purpose for collecting data over the long period of time is to investigate how participant perceptions or attitudes about an issue change over many years, and to follow participants as their lives progress and their interests in philosophies change. The next one, trend survey study. Trend studies are typically used to examine the perception of groups that are having or have had a shared experience at a particular point in time. For example, a researcher may want to ask new teachers fresh out of their freshers teachers education programs how prepared they feel to teach. Surveys are administered to new graduates each year for 5 years. In this situation, the researchers is only interested in what each group of new teachers think. And then there is cohort survey study. In this design, the researcher used the same population each year but selects different samples from that group over time. For example, a sample of new teachers entering the field would be surveyed the first year. The next year, the same population of teachers who were selected the prior year would be used, but another sample would be drawn from the original population. This process would repeat itself again and again for a number of years, creating a rigorous cohort survey design. This research examines perception or behavior over time in the same population using different samples from that population. And here the step of conducting the descriptive research. The first, we have to identify this research topic, and then conduct a review of the literatures, then develop research question, develop the survey, and then select. The example of descriptive research is evaluate teachers' attitudes about using technology. The next one is causal comparative research. It's a research approach that seeks to explain differences between groups by examining difference in the experiences of groups members. It examines the effects of an independent variable on a dependent variable while also trying to control extraneous variable. The independent variables has either already occurred or it would be unethical to manipulate. the researcher doesn't have to control over the independent variables. When the example of causal comparative research is what causes the difference in the reading skills of kindergarten students. The next one is correlational research. This type of research seeks to determine the degree of relationship between two or more variables. Correlational researchers are interested in studying only one group of individuals on two or more variables that are not manipulated or controlled by the researcher. The variables are examined to determine whether they are related. A highly negative correlation is not a relation that is bad, but one that results from scores on two variables moving in opposite direction. An increase in a variable is accompanied by a decrease in the other variable being studied. For example, of the correlational research is the relationship between online class and the effect of the students. And here the characteristic of prediction study. The first one in one or more predictor variables and one or more criterion variables are identified. 2. Data are collected from one group of participants to measure variables representing two different points in time. 3. Data are collected from one group of participants. 4. Scores on each variables are obtained for each individual. And the last one, correlations are computed between the predictor variables and the criterion variables. Next is relation study, and here the characteristic. The first one, measurement of at least two variables to be related. 2. Data are collected from one randomly selected sample of participants. 3. Data are collected at one point in time. Okay, I will explain about qualitative research. Qualitative research consists of a set of interpretive material practice that made work visible, it including field notes, interviews, conservation, photographs, recordings, and memos to the self. Qualitative research develop a broad research question or area of focus based upon their observations, readings, or experience in the research setting. Additionally, the qualitative research develops specific questions to help guide his or her observation. This research selects their participant by using purposeful sampling. Purposeful sampling involves the selection of participants who have key knowledge or information related to the purpose of the study. And here the types of qualitative research. The first one is case study. This study typically focus on an individual, small groups, or individuals within a group, and document that groups or individual experience in a specific setting. Some case studies researchers collect both quantitative and qualitative data. In case study, detailed information is gathered from multiple sources and often from the individuals being studied. The next one is ethnographic research. This research tends to investigate people in their native environments, their culture, and how their interaction in a culture group are influenced by the larger society. Ethnographic research gathers information about the phenomena being investigated from multiple perspectives. This research filter or assess the information gathered through the setting, recognizing that the setting itself has a role and a function in the study. Next, there is phenomenological research. It's work to describe lived experience. Phenomenologists are interested in understanding and recording the social and psychological perspective of the participant in the study. The researchers attempt to capture everyday experiences of those being studied. The last one, there is narrative research. The researchers portray the lives of people in a particular setting or context through storytelling. The last one is mixed method, and here the types. First one is action research. is designed to enhance and improve current practice within a specific classroom, school, or district. Typically, this type of research is undertaken by practitioners who have identified problems they wish to solve, or who would like to find ways to enhance their own teaching or student learning, or both. And the second one is program evaluation. This field with programs designed to improve both learning and teaching. Program evaluation is designed to attempt to determine the level of success or failure of such educational programs and to make decisions about such programs. That's all from me, and thank you for watching.